For a look at oil trading, we go to the NYMEX where we find Luke Rahbari. He's Chief Investment Officer at Stutland Volatility. Luke, what are we seeing in oil today? Interesting report out of the EIA, a bit of a shocker actually, 4.2 million drop in crude supplies.
Yeah, we've had that. The EIA number always seems to be good for oil, it seems like, except last week, the last 6 or 7 times, except one time there's been a drawdown. But then you know what's been happening with the price of oil, and it's been a little bit surprising to me as well. But U.S. production is holding steady, and I think the big story is China. China and the dollar, and that's driving oil down.
And it seems that really oil can't get beyond that. Even if there's a little hint of good news, those big macro factors are really what's driving traders.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at oil as its own currency. It's the largest traded commodity, the most widely traded commodity in the world, maybe right up there with gold, but the notionals and the size that it trades are much larger. And I think people are just using it and saying we're not that confident in the economy going forward, and if we're not, then we're going to sell oil. I am a little surprised about how far down it's gone down, but look at the move in the dollar as well, and uncertainty in China. I mean, the second biggest economy in the world is having volatility close to a biotech stock, 8% a day, 4% a day. So people are just fleeing and they're selling the assets that they can. Oil is one of them.
And Luke, beyond the active contract, are you seeing big drops in oil in some of the future months?
Yeah, you're starting to see that, not as much, but then again, those contracts aren't as liquid, right? So you're looking at 3 months, 6 months. What you really got to look at is some of the other factors going on in oil. Number one, the MLP space and how much debt has been issued, how much products have been issued. And with the price of oil going down, people are kind of nervous about that. So they dump some of the MLPs, they dump the paper, and along with it, oil stocks and oil companies. That's one thing. And I think looking out more than a year out in oil doesn't really, I mean, you have to arrange for your supplies if you're a long-term user, but as far as speculators, I don't think it really means anything. And they're not that liquid. So we are seeing the curve come down along with the rest of oil, but not seeing the huge movements you see in the spot in the front months.
All right, so the two issues you mentioned, China concerns, dollar concerns, look, neither one of those are going away anytime soon. So where's the floor in oil right now? And what's the top end of the range if indeed there's a little bit of urge to go long?
Yeah, oil has shocks to the upside. It rarely has shocks to the downside, right? And I've said this before, I hope it happens, but I don't think any solar panel is coming out on Monday that's gonna wipe out the use of oil, right? So you always have geopolitical shocks, what could happen in Russia and Iraq and in Libya, etc. So you kind of watch for that, but in a very unscientific way, I like oil trading at even numbers, and I've said this before. When it broke through 50, I think it's going to get dragged down to 45. If it can keep 45 and kind of move up, it'll drag back up to 50 again. But right now, 45 is the next big level. If it breaks through 45, I'm not going to be that optimistic about the global economy in any way if oil breaks through 45. I think that's a big number to watch.
And if that happens, I guess 40 is next.
Yeah, it could be, and I think 40 will be a pretty hard floor. I think it'll put a lot of the shale producers, it'll put a lot of these other guys that were marginal producers that was producing when oil was a higher price, around 60, completely out of the game. Completely out of the game. And that'll actually empower OPEC a little more. You would think that with oil prices going down, they actually have more power because a lot of marginal producers and the mid-tier producers are going to be out, and all the production is going to be coming out of OPEC where it's so-called easier access to get the oil out. So there's going to be a lot of geopolitical events, and there's some things to watch for. But if it breaks through 40, I mean, I would be shocked in the next year if it breaks through 40.
All right, Luke Rahbari, great to talk to you about it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rhonda.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler for The Street.